What replacement speaker would you recommend for the Archon 25 combo? I'm doing that right now. I actually have the Archon 25 and I have the Archon 50, and I've been A-Bing them heavily, and I've really come to the conclusion that I prefer the Archon 25. The 50, I actually think it sounds a little better, but there's something spongier, on the 25. I don't mean the distortion, I mean the clean too, just the softer pick attack. Interesting enough, what I'm most shocked about in comparing them is that when you switch the 50 watt to 25 watt mode, it still doesn't sound close to the 25 watt combo. So you'd think the wattage would have something to do with it, lower wattage having a different, but it's definitely got to be those power tubes. They have the same preamp tubes, there's only a power transformer difference and power tubes. But so back to the speaker question. I'm pretty sure I'm going to replace mine with a greenback. I've tried everything. You can't just yank them out and put them in each, one over and over. It gets a little troublesome. So I've been putting different speakers in different boxes and running it to different boxes. And I think I like the Vintage 30, which is an odd speaker for me to pick. Okay, Jerry says, hey, what should I know before I change out some humbuckers? Are some guitars harder to change out? Yeah, they are. Direct mounted pickups, in other words, where they have screws directly mounted into the bodies, are a little trickier than if they're mounted to a pickup frame. I've said this before, I'll say it over and over again, because this is one of those things I don't mind repeating. Use your phone, take pictures of everything you do. I don't care what you do, right? I don't even mean about guitar. I mean, if you're doing it working around the house. In the world, think of it like a James Bond movie, right? Take photos of everything before you mess with it, and therefore it'll make it easier to put it back to where it was if you forgot or if you're having trouble later. So with humbuckers, changing out humbuckers is a very easy thing. There's amazing schematics on Seymour Duncan's website that you can still download, and usually the instructions in the box are okay, but they're in black and white, so it gets a little tricky. But take some photos of what you have before and line that back up. But no, just the direct mount pickups are a little tricky with humbuckers. That's it. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Minnows Music says, thoughts on Basswood? Or should we say Basswood? I say Basswood, so you know. Basswood kind of has a bad reputation. Yeah, and I've have no bad experiences with it. It's in my Ibanez's. It's in, I kind of still want a Basswood body Strat. I don't know why, I just do, because it's light. My experience with woods that are light like that, it's because it's a light wood. Light woods tend to cause the bridge and the strings to reverberate differently, is my experience. And so, but I don't hate basswood. In fact, like I said this before, I don't think I really care what wood's in my guitars. I think I used to, but at some point I realized it's just weight. So Dr. Bumface says, why do some guitars sing and some don't? Can you make a crappy guitar sing? My personal experience is no. You can make I say this is from repair experience, okay? From years of repair. I have found that you can make a good guitar sound slightly better. You can make a great guitar even better, but you cannot make a bad guitar good. You will always just get it to par. Think of it like a grade, right? Think about it like your guitar is a grade. If your guitar is an F, you can hope to get it to a D or C, but getting it to a B or A is almost impossible. So if your guitar is a high C, you could probably get it to a low A. You see how that works, right? That's been my experience with guitars. So when somebody has a guitar and it's just really bad, now it's not always that case, but in the most case. A good example of my personal experience is my copper Strat. I love the way it played, but I never got it to sound the way I wanted with the pickups. But it didn't sound bad. It just didn't sound the way I wanted. So I kept messing with pickups, and I finally got to something I liked. But I wouldn't have done it if it sounded horrible. It just didn't sound as amazing as I hoped. Let's see. Here's a good one. What are your thoughts on hybrid amps like the Vox AV series? What are your thoughts on hybrid amps like the Vox? It's an Echo. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the Vox AV series hybrid amps? I think hybrid amps are cool. You know, the Super Champ is a hybrid amp, right? It has basically a tube power section. It has a preamp tube, but that preamp tube is devoted to the power section, so it doesn't really have a tube preamp section. It's really a solid state preamp section. And my experience with hybrid amps is they're good. I feel like they always have a more tube-like sound than solid state. So I think hybrid is, I really think a lot of times maybe hybrid is really the future, more so than just digital or more so than just all tube. So I've had good experiences with those. Let's see. Okay, here's one. Jimmy Green says, I always take pictures of my pedal settings just in case they get bumped. Yeah, right? I mean, it's right. Back in the day, you'd have to use a Sharpie or a piece of paper. Did anyone do that back in the day? I used to take and take paper and make circles and then draw lines and make my amp layout and keep a schematic of how I set my amp. Now I say that out loud, it seems pretty nerdy, but I did it. Michael says, ever built a Partsocaster guitar? Yeah, I have. I have many times. My advice is it's a great way to do something cool, learn a little bit, and save some money over a more expensive guitar, although it is a fine line between what I said and it becoming a money pit where you can shove your money into. So I think personally, Partsocasters are a great idea to learn how to build guitars and put them together. Why not, right? And but you know, I always tell people with moderation. Please don't spend $700, $800. I've done that. I've done a Partsocaster that racked up almost $900 by the time I was done, and you know, I think I got $300 for it when I sold it. So you know, it was a great experience and a good way to lose $600. So like I said, be cautious. Okay, what is your favorite guitar on the wall behind you, and can you play it now? I can't play it now because nothing's hooked up, but I will tell you what my favorite guitar is, but I gotta look. I don't know which one it is. You know, to be honest, it's probably that blue Strat. Now, my copper Strat is the one I play all the time, but for some reason, I've just bonded with the blue Strat. So, I wonder now if I will keep, you know, if I had to get rid of one of the Strats, if I would keep the blue one or the copper one. But the copper guitar is the guitar I play the absolute most. So, okay, Kevin Carr says, is it good to get cheap gear now and then buy better gear later, or save up for great gear now and keep it all for a while? Kevin, that's a great question, right? I think all of us kind of worry about that idea. Right, I can tell you what I've done. I bought cheap gear and I worked up. I think most of us follow that path. The downfall of it all is buying good gear doesn't mean you have good tone or you have a good equipment. The whole, I mean, I know it sounds kind of silly to say this, but the whole know your gear concept is, I really do believe in the philosophy that a person who knows how to use their equipment, even if it's cheap, is better than someone who has new equipment but doesn't know how to use it. So, Kevin, I think you should buy what you love. Don't worry about what it costs, and learn to use it the best you can. And sometimes you accidentally find out you don't love more expensive stuff. So I will tell you, through all the amps I bought over the years, I still look back at some of the lower priced amps that I've owned as being, wow, I could have just stopped right there. The only thing I will tell you, Kevin, is I've also learned, and let me know in the comments if you guys have experienced this too. It's like once you go up to a certain price point of guitar and amp, it's hard to step back down. And I know that sounds weird to say it, but it's like, because it's not exciting to go the other way. So sometimes I wish I would have stopped at certain points and said, this is where I need to be. But curiosity just drove me to higher priced instruments and amps. But once I got there, I don't think I was like, wow, was I a sucker before? So there you go. Hey, Chris says, hey, Phil, do you still own any Charvel guitars? Thoughts on the new San Dimas models? Cheers. I don't. You know, I got rid of that Charvel guitar. The thing with the Charvel guitar was real simple with me. I really fell in love with that Eddie Van Halen EVH striped guitar I had, the way it sounded and played. And then I just, you know, I'd rather have a Charvel than the EVH guitar. Everybody has a different preference. And the Charvel guitar, I just couldn't get it to sound right. So I changed the pickups to EVH pickups. I did everything. I just couldn't get it to sound as big and as bassy and as full as that striped guitar. And what I eventually figured out it was the bridge. The Charvels are floating on the new ones. So I wish they would do the Charvels where the Floyds are against the bodies. It really makes a difference. I really think that's why a lot of times when you think the Ibanez sound thin, I think it's the floating trims. And for some reason, blocking it might help a little bit transfer the vibration, but I don't know, it just changes it. So, but I do like them. Let's see. Yeah, Rob Jones says, hey, can you recommend an all-in-one pedal set? Yeah, like a multi-processor, like it does it all kind of thing. You know, if you're new to it, man, you can't go wrong with those Boss ME50s. Those are used, I think, $125, right? Great pedal. It'll get you exposed to all the Boss stuff. I personally like the Line 6 M9 and M13, M6, right? M5, M9, M13. I really, really love those pedals. Those are the Boss pedals are really good. And, you know, because there's so much anti-Line 6 sentiment, I haven't looked to see, but maybe the price is really good. I thought I saw Sweetwater blowing out the M13s for like $3. Something silly. They were normally $5. So, let's see. Okay, Vance says, hey, I bought a Recording King to resell 10 minutes, and I decided to keep it. Recording Kings are definitely a hidden gem acoustic guitar. If you know, Recording King makes these amazing, I want to say knockoff Martin type guitars, and they are fantastic for the money. They've been slowly going up over the years in value, you know, but back in the day they were super cheap, but still really affordable. So Vance, yeah, you kind of found one of those hidden gems. Some of the high-end stores will carry Recording Kings because they know that if you play it, it's an easy sell, you know, right? Corey says, I think my Ibanez sounds thin. I think it's because it's got such a hot ceramic pickup and oversaturates and loses the body. Yeah, it's possible. You could always back that pickup down. Think of it like a microphone. Back it down, it might warm it up. I've experienced the same thing. With hot pickups, I will back them off away from the string. So, and that's how I warm them up. I really like that idea that the pickup is like a microphone, and you know, you can put it up here or you can put it out here. So it's up to you. There are 471 of us hanging out. I decided to tell you guys that. That's really great. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I kind of look forward to this, so you guys know this is pretty much what it is now. It's just something I look forward to doing. Does Fender make an American standards in America? Patrick, that's a great question. They do. So I mentioned last week that the new professional series and the new elites don't say made in America or made in USA. And it's the general consensus of what I can research and find is solely because of the new California laws are prohibiting it. I saw revisions to the California law that loosened it up back up again after they made it so strict. But even with that, I think that's what is going on. Fender can't say made in USA if it's not 100% USA. Or I think they're going out the 5 and 10% rule. It's like 5 or 10% of the value of it wholesale. And Fender can't do that. So there you go. On Seymour Duncan Pearly Gates pickup. I love it. I have a mini Pearly Gates from the custom shop in that blue Strat. And I love that pickup. The Pearly Gates is great. You know, I've learned certain things. There are certain guitar players that are amazing guitar players. But then there are certain guitar players that are amazing producers. And then there are certain guitar players that are amazing writers. And then there are certain guitar players that are amazing product specialists. And some are all four and some are variations. But Billy Gibbons is a lot of those four. And one of them is definitely a product person. And for some reason, he just knows, man, when something sounds right to go with it. So I think he's had a lot to do with the Pearly Gates, is my understanding. So there you go. Guitar Hack says, hey, Phil, thoughts on the Gibson 339? I had a Gibson 339. I really, really liked it. Did not love it. I liked it. My only reason for getting rid of it was solely based on the fact that when I kept A-Bing it, it sounded pretty much like my Les Paul. It didn't sound much different. And I was really looking for a different sound, not so much a different feel. And it had a 60s neck, and it was a great guitar, but like I said, it pretty much felt like my Les Paul. Mike says, hey, is Made in Mexico worth it for a budget player? Absolutely. Made in Mexico Strats. I own one. I have one on my rack right over here. Fantastic guitar. One of my favorite guitars still. So, Shaman Blue says, Fender tube amp with Fender sound for under $400. Well, $400, that would put the Blues Junior, right? I mean, I think that's like $525, but used in the $400 range. I think that's a good amp for that Fender tube sound if you want that. And I still like the Super Champ. And like I said, it is tube hybrid, but it's still tube. So That helps. Joel's got a great question. Joel Taylor, does Fender make a Strat with no pickguard? They have, and I don't mean in the custom shops and exotics. There's a Fender Showmaster, American ones and a Korean import one. That is definitely a guitar that I'm very, very, very. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm very apprehensive about talking about in a video, but here I will talk about it because I don't want them to get sucked up and prices to go up. But those are like a hidden treasure. If you like Schecter, and you like Fender, it's basically a Fender Schecter. It's a set neck Strat with no pickguard with a small neck that plays amazing, and Seymour Duncan's and they're so if those of you guys are interested, start looking right now on Reverb and eBay and buy them before they go up. You should be able to find them for $400 or $500. That's what I looked at the last time. Okay, Brian York says, Phil, what are the differences between the Core S2 Mira and the Core and the S2 Miras? I own the S2 Mira. Brian, I have a Core Mira. You probably know that. That's probably why you're asking the question. Let me tell you this. There's really not a difference that I can see or care about except for one thing. My Core guitar is 24 fret. And that's not a big deal, but it's 24 fret with a pattern a thin neck. And this S2s are a 22 fret neck with pattern regular. So I only like my Mira more just because it has a slightly thinner neck, and that's it. Other than that, they're the same. Oh, and the Core has Mira pickups, but I like both pickups for different reasons. So here's a good question. Robert West said, Texas Special pickups. What's your thoughts on those for Fender Tele? Those are what's in the American Special Telecasters. So they're good. I like them. Recommend them, especially since you can pretty much walk to any local store and pick up an American Special Telecaster, plug it in, and get a sense of what those pickups sound like. So I would recommend doing that. I think I liked them more than the Broadcaster and the was it the Broadcaster? The pickup set that was in the American Standard. So I like them better than that. Hey Phil, I've been looking for a bass preamp similar to ADA MB1. Any suggestions? Yeah, Ed Bailey, check out Radial. Radial makes amazing stuff. Also, the Eden preamp's pretty good, but Radial for quality can't. Rob, oh, here's a good one. Adam saying, Phil, I am too shy to try out guitars in a guitar store. How can I get over this? That is not uncommon. In fact, I find that it's highly common. What I can tell you from years of doing retail was that most people would ask me to play the guitar for them. And that's what you do. You just find the guy in the guitar store to play the guitar for you. Don't be afraid, right? Right? That's what they're there for. You just say, hey, please, plus who doesn't want to sit and play guitar for somebody? I can tell you right now, the things I had to do in a retail environment, sitting there and playing guitar is not the worst one. So no, Adam, I would ask people to play guitar for you. Now, does that give you a sense of how it plays? No, but you can play it unplugged, get a sense of how it feels, then ask them to plug it up and see how it sounds. Other than that, the other thing you can do is is try to work on a riff or a thing that you feel very confident just playing that. But I will tell you this, if you play quietly, no one's listening. So I could tell you that for sure. People just, if you go in and plug quietly, no one's paying attention. So, okay, Adam wants to know, what do you think of Behringer products? They're fine. They're cheap. They're cheap products. I have a funny story I'll share with you guys. So my wife didn't know a whole lot about pedals and about stuff like that. And so I sent her with one of the marketing guys from Boss Pedals for the day to learn all about pedals. This is like 10 years ago. And what's funny was he spent most of the day telling her how Behringer is a pirate company and rips everybody off and you have to constantly sue them, and that's why Boss doesn't make as many pedals as they used to. And the funny thing that makes that story funny is, to this day, my wife saying Behringer is like saying a curse word. She hates the word because of what he told her that day and how upset Boss was with Behringer. So if you know me, especially anybody who's watching that knows me, you guys know that I don't talk about Behringer because of that reason. I always wonder if that was such a great idea, because Behringer makes some pretty interesting stuff. But yeah. So there was 600 of us for a second. There's 594 of us, 91. So we did hit 600 today. That is amazing, guys. So thank you guys for hanging out with me so much. Hey, Phil, how do you like the SD P-rail pickups? Oh, the Seymour Duncan P-rail pickups? Yeah, I love the versatility. Oh, of course. Did you put in the cool pickup rings? That's what I love about them. So if you guys don't know what he's talking about, there's a P-rail pickup by Seymour Duncan, and it's essentially a P90, a single coil, then it has the ability to be a humbucker. So you get basically one of every kind of pickup. Very cool pickups. I don't think they get as much attention as they deserve. They're really an innovative product, and they definitely sound good. My experience in the last decade or two has been anything modern looking or feeling has a kind of bad vibe to it. People like vintagey looking stuff, and it just doesn't. But it's no, you're right, Vince. It's legit. Will Cherry, I don't want to jump around and miss anybody, but Will Cherry says, hey, Phil, what are your thoughts on the Hard Luck Kings? Do you guys get those in your Facebook feeds? I get Hard Luck Kings guitars. Those are those guitars that are like, were $1,000, but now $230. I have almost bought them probably 20 times. Please put in the comments, or if you guys are like me and have done it, has anyone pulled the trigger? Will, I'll be honest, I'm curious. I know when I get it, it's still going to be a $200-$300 guitar, and it's not going to be anything that blows me away, but it might be pretty decent. But I always talk myself out of it. I chicken out at the last minute. But I've even put them in the cart, ready to buy, just because they're always in my Facebook feeds. Even when I delete my cookies, they come back. So, Manny Dillon said, the Agular Tone Hammer pedal is also an amazing preamp. Absolutely. Agular is amazing. So thanks for mentioning that, Manny. That's a great preamp. Agular makes great stuff. And to be honest, they're pricey, but not much more pricey than Radial. 613 of us. We broke 600 hanging out, guys. You guys are amazing. Making this the best Friday ever. So let's see. Rob G, and like I said, if I jump around, if I miss a question and it's important to you guys, just repost it. Right? I'll try and hit every single one, or as close as we can get to whatever we get. Thunderland78 says EVH USA guitar versus the Wolfgang Special. I'm the worst one to ask on this. I have the EVH Special. It's the striped one. It's in my rack right here. I have that because my son. However, I like the Indonesian ones. Oh, I don't know why I'm going to say that, but it's the truth, right? I just feel horrible saying I prefer an Indonesian guitar over an American guitar, but I think they're great. EVH Gear Live, those guys, they love it too. I agree. For $400 or $500, they're amazing. I don't know why they don't make some of the other ones like those. So to answer your question, Special. But you know what it is too? I just can't pony $3,000 for those EVH USA guitars. They're great, but $3,000, not saying it's not worth it. It's just not for me. Okay. Hey, Phil. Edgar saying, hey, Phil, what are your thoughts on the tone from a hollow body or a semi-hollow guitars compared to solid body with the same type of pickups? I don't know, Edgar, because I've never tried that. I've never tried two identical guitars, or two hollow body and a solid body guitar with the same pickups to see how that affects. That's a good question. That could be a fun video, right? That could be something we can try and do, for sure. Because I just gotta, I can do that. Let's do that. In fact, that might work out with something else I'm working on right now. So, Brent Phillips says, Hard Luck King's nasty. Now, Brent, is that because they're weird looking and you think they're strange, or because you got one, or, right? So just clarify. You're not wrong, obviously. Like I said, there are some crazy looking ones, but I just want to make sure we're not having, somebody's having a bad experience with them, share, right? Mirio says, any thoughts on Aria Pro II? My first real guitar was an Aria Pro II. I got it when I was 16. It was my 16th birthday present. And that was my, I know that sounds silly to say it that way, but for me, it was my first real guitar. So, always had an affection from some of the Japanese Aria Pro IIs. Aria Pros are just amazing. They're just, kind of pricey, but good stuff. Let's see. Rob G says, hey, I have a PRS SE. Love it. I know people love the Zach Myers too. Yeah, the Zach Myers is a great guitar. It's just the neck's a little thicker, and it's satin. It's kind of cool. The satin it's a chunky neck. So, Jesse's I got a good question. Jesse's saying, "Hey, THR 10X versus Katana 100. Which one should I buy for home use?" I don't know, Jesse. Here's the thing. It's kind of a weird story. I went to go buy a THR 10X. I really wanted to try one out. So I was ready to buy one. And then out of nowhere, Yamaha contacts me with an email and says, "Hey, we'd like you to check out the new THR 100 head." And I said, "Cool. Yeah, please send that to me. I'll check it out." And then I even said to him I was thinking about getting the THR 10. And I thought, well, maybe I should wait because I'm going to check out the head. And then maybe they'll send me a THR 10X to check out, right? If it all goes well with the and I never heard from him again. It's been months. So and then it kind of made me not want to run out and buy a THR 10. So I'm going to buy a THR 10. So I'll try and do an AB on those. Because I've played them both, but separately. And the THR 10 to me in my mind was better, but I would like to really know for sure. What do you think? Oh, let's hold on. Mira says, "I'm thinking of going bald too. It's starting anyway." It's up to you. Like I said, shaving your head's not the worst thing. You think all this gear was bought on the money I saved from haircuts. I bet you I could get almost all you to shave your head with that if you believed it. Well, then again, I don't know. Hair or nice guitar is a tough one. Okay, so Rock Daddy 44 says 73 Fender Super Reverb for $900. Is that a good deal? Oh, I don't know. 73 Fender. So you're talking. It's a silver face, right? So it's a CBS era. I don't know. I'm a little displaced from it right now. I remember them being nothing just a few years back. I'm sure that's what it goes for now is $900, but part of me still thinks of them as being the go-to guitars. Ed Bailey says Aria Pro II was Cliff Burton's go-to bass. Oh yeah, right. I mean, they make good stuff. So, Terry wants to know, what's the Fender behind you with the competition stripes? I don't know. I don't see it. I think we might have a light reflection. So what color is it? Because I don't see it. I don't see one with competition stripes. Okay. Hard Luck compared to CL Squire CV mods. No comparison, but don't tell anyone, okay? It's our secret. So, okay. So I want to make sure Brent says it again. Okay, so Brent, Hard Luck compared to CL Squire or Vintage Modifieds. No comparison. Okay, so I think he's saying Hard Luck was better. I just want to make sure I got that right. Somebody says I don't like them. Is it because I didn't read your question? Just repost it. So, like I said, there's 600 of us, and there's a lot of questions coming in. What are your thoughts on the Mesa 50 cal? It's cool. It's a good amp. You can get good deals on them, right? I always liked them. I'm a Mesa guy for the most part. I like Mesa. I have a love-hate relationship with Mesa, the amp. I constantly. One day I plug into them, and I think it's the greatest thing ever, and the other day I plug in and but I love Andy Timmons and I love Mark Tremonti, and both those guys play Mesas. So, here's a good one. Rand saying, "Hey Phil, great stuff. Any thoughts about the Floyd Rose the tail that tail bridge, T-rail bridge for Strat?" Watching from Chicago. I haven't tried it. It's one of those things that's it's interesting, but I haven't tried it. Cheddarcon Pow says, "Oh yeah, a Katana in the 0.5 watt mode rules." The Katana was an impressive amp. It's definitely one of the best modeling amps I've tried in recent years. And I was thinking about checking out the new Mustangs, but boy, everything I've seen so far, it looks horrible. Fender longboard Strats, are those collector's items? Oh yeah, they are. Yeah. I had one and I sold it, and it's worth more than what I sold it for, and that was only like a year and a half ago. So, somebody's asking about Hayes guitars. Dustin saying, "Hey, thoughts on Hayes guitars from Australia? The 7-string model in particular." Haven't tried them. Hayes, I've seen them. I think I've seen them at the NAMM show. The name looks familiar, but I haven't tried one. So, Jarrett wants to know, what are the best pickups for that Bruce Springsteen type of tone? Well, a Telecaster, right? So then any kind of Telecaster vintage pickups, right? I'm a huge Ryan Adams fan, and he's definitely got the Bruce Springsteen kind of tone thing going. That's why I own a Princeton and a Telecaster, is for that reason. So that's how I get it. I just kind of hit the tele hard and get that tone. It just, that's how I get that vibe. So Telecaster, any kind of Telecaster. Let's see. David Lawrence says, love the 70s vintage mod Strat. Okay. Let's see. Okay, thoughts on Line 6. Okay, Line 6 Firehawk. I want to get to his question, but there's stuff I just don't know. Ben says, thoughts on the Line 6 Firehawk. I haven't tried it. Next, let's see. What's a good... Oh, I hate it when it jumps. Hey, Phil, is Fender releasing the Jagstang again? It's possible. I know that it's difficult to deal with some of the rock stars that have passed away as families to get licensing and stuff. That's something I've dealt with Fender, and they've explained in the past. So it's not impossible, but it's tough. So 825 Brent says, hey Phil, is Fender... Oh no, that's the one I just read. Sorry. Next one. Brian says, which attenuator for the Peavey 5150-2? I don't know, Brian. You shouldn't really need to attenuate that amp, right? I mean, those amps stay distorted so at low volumes, and if your issue is when turned down you're not getting any bass, an attenuator is not going to help you with that. Not in my experience. I don't really see personally the need to attenuate high distortion amplifiers. So and besides, for the price of an attenuator, you can get yourself a 6505 mini head used. So I would do that. Look at that for sure, right? And let's see. And like I said, there's 609 of us hanging out, so we're doing fantastic. Oh, here's a good one. Helix in Red says, hey Phil, can you really hear the difference between a guitar with nitrocellulose finish and someone with polyurethane finish? That's a great question. The theory is that the polyurethane is like candy coats the body and it makes it hard, right? I don't know. I don't think you can hear it. I think a lot of it is in the mojo and the vibe, looks, right? I'm a real fond believer with my experiences of my travels so far in life of playing music and playing guitars, is that we want to discount that it's in our eyes. I always say in your eye, then in your ear. You see it, and then you hear it. And then so because you see it one way, you hear it one way. And, some people like to say, that's a placebo and it doesn't matter. But the problem is that placebo does matter, right? I always tell people, if you didn't know a band that was going to come and open for a band you like, and they walked on a stage with 4 pink Warlock guitars and basses and spiked hair, what are they going to play? Right? I mean, it's just, right? Now, could they play blues? Absolutely. But they probably aren't, right? So there is the psychology to the guitar, and you can ignore it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I will tell people all the time, I really think the majority of the sound of these guitars behind me is in the way they feel and they look and they make me feel when I play them. So one guitar feels surf rocky, one guitar is bluesy, one guitar is jazzy. But yet I could probably pick one guitar and get them to sound mostly like that, if that helps. I actually did a video last week doing something like that. It just does not schedule to come out. I've been doing videos and then scheduling for them to come out. So, Chuck wants to know, hey Phil, what guitar are you lusting after right now? There was a Ibanez 7-string Universe and Swirl for $8,000. It's still there on Reverb or eBay, and that's crazy. This might as well be a Lamborghini for the price. Guitar that I'm really lusting after right now, nothing really, right? Nothing super. I keep looking back at Suhr guitars though, just keep thinking about them. So. Oh, here's a good one. Devin wants to know, hey, how do you stop the springs of my PRS SE Custom from ringing after mutes? Well, it's as simple as you can stick toilet paper in the pickup cavity. I use foam. You just pull it right through the springs. If you look at my 10 things you don't know about the Fender Strat, or no, 5 things, whatever, the things you don't know about the Fender Strat video, in there I show you how to mute those springs. But some people just put a couple pieces of tissue paper in there, right? And just anything to stop the springs from moving. There's 1,000 ways. You can buy coated strings from FU Tone. My buddy Eric just gave me like all of them. So, and I've been waiting to do a demo with them. So, let's see. Next question. Phil, do you recommend using the Mustang Series amps pedal option or using a pedal board? So yeah, Tyler, you're basically saying, hey, you have a Mustang amp. Should you just use the foot controller and use everything in that, or should you put a pedal board in front of it? If that's the question, I would use the foot controller in front of it. The reason is there's a good and a bad to digital amps. The good is they sound good. The bad is that they tend to try to correct the things they hear. Let me give you an example. If you put a high output pickup in front of a digital amp, it'll probably push the signal down and try not to overload itself. If you put a weak pickup in there, it kind of boosts the signal up. It does kind of correct its sound. So it doesn't react like a tube amp. So putting pedals in front of it, is not a big deal. The odds are if you put pedals in front of it, you're probably going to want to run the amp clean and use it like a PA system for your pedals. So you could do it either way, but if you're asking, what's it worth, just use the foot controller. Ed says, hey, Philip, start recommending the Peavey Bandit. Yeah, the Peavey Bandit's a great idea. I think In the Blues always it recommends it because it's a great amp. I highly agree with that. I recommend all of the old American Peavey stuff. Just buy that stuff up. You know what's a great amp? I mean, a really great amp. So see what happens. The Custom with a K Coupe 36. That is an American-made. There's 2 of them right on Reverb right now. One's like 450, one's 550. 36 watts, 112-inch speaker, made in the USA. Great overdrive channel, great clean channel with a boost feature, and hidden gem. Made by, they were designed and made by James Brown. If you don't know who he is, he designed the 5150 for Peavey, among other things, right? I think he's amp tweaker or something like that. He does pedals now too. Great designer. And that's a great amp, too, for a tube amp. But, yeah, Dana, the Peavey Bandit, right? Let's see. Hey, Phil, can you get more guitar for your money building a Strat Partsocaster? I think we already did this question, but it's rephrased a little differently, so we'll try to hit it a little differently. Basically, what he's asking is a Partsocaster better deal than doing an American Standard Strat? Only if it saves you a ton of money, because the American Standard Strat has a value. It's whatever you spend on American Strat, especially American Standards aren't made anymore. If you spend $800 on American Standard Strat, it's probably going to be worth $800 for a while. So that's the thing. A Partsocaster, unless you do it dirt cheap. So, Jeffrey wants to know, hey, Phil, what do you think of the early 90s Hammer Centaura? I don't know. Centaura. I don't know what I'm saying. Centaura. USA-made guitars. Hammer was one of those brands that's really what I get to on. I don't have a reference of it, but I want to talk on the subject because Hammer is a brand to me that is, it's vaporware. It doesn't exist for me as a real thing. So, and that's why I want to talk about this. I love subjects like this. Did you guys have any of these experiences in life? ESP guitars is like that for me too. So if you think of ESP guitars, Hammer guitars, and name your brand that's like this too. Where I lived, those brands, you didn't see those brands in stores. They didn't exist. They were in guitar magazines. Vernon Reed had one. Gary Hoey had a Hammer. I'm a huge Gary Hoey fan. Same with ESP. George Lynch had one. Queensryche had one. I mean, they were guitars that you saw on paper, in magazines and in MTV videos. But when you went to your music store, even the big music store, they weren't there. And by the time you saw them, they were Slammer, right? Or Slammer, or whatever you want to call it. They were Slammers and they were LTDs. So that's a brand that I always think about going, there's a list of brands for me that I just never saw in a music store. And then, later, now, do you see one used one hanging out in a Guitar Center once? Yeah, but that's not like walking in and see a wall full of them. So that's why I wanted to say that, because So let me know, any of you guys, what was the brand just you never saw it in person? So Olympic basses is another one. I just never see them in person. Let's see. Mitchell's got a question from Liverpool, England. Thoughts on the Gretsch White Penguin? Seen Josh Klinghoffer play one. I'm not familiar with the artist. Left-handed, so it's expensive and hard to come by. It is. The White Penguin is a cool guitar. I've sold 2 of them. They are great. They're just expensive, like you said. Really cool. The White Falcon and the White Penguin are these just holy grail Gretsch guitars. And luckily, I never got bit by the bug to want one because they're crazy expensive. But so you know, there is an electromatic version that came out last year that looks like the White Penguin. So if you look it up, and they do that from time to time. So it's not a White Penguin, but it looks like it, and you can probably fetch it for about $400 or $500. So, Hex Tobin says PRS S2 pickup replacement, worth it or not? It was not worth it because I think the S2 pickups sound great. The problem is you'd have to decide what it is that you don't like them. I thought they sounded really full, but they were also kind of bassy, and therefore they were a little muddy. But where do you go from that? That was my problem. I've replaced a bunch for customers, and the only thing that stuck with me out of probably 3 or 4 times I replaced pickups for customers, 2 of those customers asked to put them back the way they were. So that stuck with me. So Jesse says, hey, Phil, where did you get the Fender acoustic banner that's in the background of your videos? Oh, I have a pile of cool stuff. I have Fender banners and Fender displays. I have Marshall displays. I love to say it's because from owning a store, but some of that stuff is just stuff I've been collecting. So that one was a promotional thing that Fender did, and I got it. Fender is in Scottsdale, Arizona, and sometimes they would hook me up with really cool display stuff. Ed Roman's store in Vegas, when it closed and Fender had to go get a bunch of stuff, they brought me some cool signage. I have a sign that was made, a one-of-a-kind that was made for his store, and the Fender rep gave it to me, which was just a nice thing to do, right? So I have cool stuff like that. Let's see. It's same with banners. My whole garage is cool Fender banners and all kinds of brands banners. I even have banners that are specially made for like Nuno Bittencourt Washburn guitars for other stores and stuff. Just cool stuff. Fernando saying Fedora basses and Parker guitars are quite rare. Yeah, right. Yes, right. I never saw a Parker guitar until I saw one used in a store until I became a dealer for them. Fedora basses, I only saw them at the NAMM show, right? They just never saw them. So, oh, Jesse's got a good question. Here's a great one, guys. How come Fender gets major criticism for their acoustic guitars compared to other higher-end brands? It's because Fender acoustic guitars were crap for a long time. They were really, really bad. They were entry-level, and when they did try to get into mid-level, they just weren't very good. They didn't know how to do it. Acoustic is not like a piece of wood like an electric guitar where you just kind of cut out a body, throw some good pickups in it, make sure the thing's intonated right, and you're pretty close to right. Acoustics, there's a lot to how the bracing is cut and how it's done. So to be honest with you, how come Fender gets the criticism is because they used to be not very good. Now their acoustic guitars are very good now. They're not great, but they're definitely as good as anybody else's in that price bracket. In fact, they are the #1 acoustic seller in the world now, up there with Yamaha and Ibanez in volume, right? We're only going to buy volume units. And it's because they bought companies like Guild and Ovation and Tacoma, and owning those brands, I think, gave them insight on how to improve the guitars, and that's what they did. So that's why there's major criticism, because if your experience was from a Fender acoustic guitar for 10, 20 years ago, it probably wasn't a great experience. So there you go. Daddy DeGent covers. All right, Daddy DeGent covers says, should I buy an amp head or should I use multi-effects pedal with an amp internally? So I think I understand the question. Should you use a multi-effects and basically with an amp? And then the answer is from what I'm trying to get from the question is, I think you should use an amp head. I personally would prefer, I can only tell you what I would do. I prefer an amp head over a multi-effects pedal. I think that's what the question was. Ed Dillinger wants to know, have I ever owned a Kramer guitar? I've owned a Gary Kramer guitar. I will put it on. Hey, this is a good segue. So down in the links down below, I have my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook. Mostly my Instagram and my Facebook. If you guys haven't clicked on that to follow, I put a lot of stuff in those every day, and I try to make it entertaining and stuff. And I'm really working on that. So if you guys click there and kind of follow me on those formats, I like to interact a lot on that forum too. And what I'll do is I'll put the picture. I had the Gary Kramer 32 fret 7-string guitar. So I don't think I've ever had a real Kramer. I've worked on a ton of them, but that was the only thing close I had was a Gary Kramer. So Kramer guitars were another guitar, right? They were just, you just didn't see them. You know where I was. Let's see. Here's a hard question. What's a good versatile amp head for under $700? The problem with that, guys, and it says with something with an effects loop. The problem with those questions are you got to tell me, like at home use or in a band, what's the play? What are you trying to do with it? So, and don't forget used. That's the problem with this. I know sometimes, new is the question, but if anytime I hear the word budget or dollar amount, fixed pricing, used is so great, right? Especially when you can find it so relatively easy now online and there's accountability if it's sold to you wrong. Everybody's going to have a different opinion, but me, I've had very little to almost no bad experiences with PayPal taking care of me. So most of the time, as long as I pay with PayPal, I'll end up okay. Hector's got a long question, but it's a good one. He says, what's your thoughts on cheap pedals or Chinese clones, mini pedals? Greetings from Puerto Rico. I think they have a place. My pedal collection is exactly that. I have Joyo and I have boutique pedals, and the truth is, I like both equally. Pedals are, to me, it's an easy thing. If pedals are tools, and tools to me are an easy thing. There's practical use. In other words, I need it to do a job. So, you can buy a cheap tool and it will get you the job done for a day, and it's fine. And then sometimes you might want to buy slightly better tools if you want them to last. To me, think of it this way. I can buy an inexpensive knockoff pedal made in China, and it'll work fine in a bedroom as long as I don't do horrible stuff to it, take it on gigs, right? If I need something that's durable, it takes a pounding, there's a Boss pedal. Again, more expensive than the cheap pedal, but not crazy expensive like boutique, practical, useful, right? Then if I'm looking for something just a little exotic and a little, kind of exciting, I can go to boutique. Believe it or not, probably not as durable as the Boss pedal, right? But still cool and unique. So that's how I look at pedals. To me, it's a needs-based thing. As an at-home collector for the majority of it, I don't really have to worry about any of that stuff. Very few pedals are broken on me. When they do, I can't figure out why, because I don't do anything with them. In fact, you could say because I leave them on the shelf, but I actually dust them and clean them pretty regularly. So there you go. Okay, John Ghost wants to say, where's my school located, or rather, where do you teach, if anything, place to inquire about lessons? If you're in my area, I don't personally teach. I do online Skyping, but it's not really teaching, and I do that pretty much every day. It's like a consulting kind of thing, and I've been doing that for a while. But John, it's San Marcos is the lesson academy. San Marcos Lesson Academy in Chandler. It's where I recommend you check it out. And so try them. They have amazing teachers. Matt Vendel is probably the teacher I'd recommend the most there. Although there's a lot of great teachers, Matt is the guy. Rick Dove says, can you recommend a place to buy, can you recommend a way to buy an ashtray cover for an American Special tremolo? Okay, so American Special tremolo, you're talking about like the bridge on a Strat? Just eBay, right? Get a used one. So, they've been stamping on the same machine since the day they started. So it's not like there's good ones and bad ones. They're all the same. As long as they come with from Fender. Fernando is saying, my Joyo a US Dream rocks as a boost pedal. Yeah, for my Jason. Yeah, my experience with the Joyo pedal was fantastic. Oh, here's a good one. Cream Fresh Cream says, hey, Phil, what's your thoughts on the DV Mark amps? Many artists go with them. Greg Howe, yep, I saw it. Michelangelo Badio, yep, and of course Frank Gambale, right? Frank Gambale was playing them. They make a ultralight 212 cabinet for him. I think I've said that before. That's fantastic. I've had a little experience with them, but what I have had has been pretty good. Couldn't say I recommend them because I don't know them really well, but I have nothing bad to say about them. I've heard nothing bad about them. So, Hector says, hey, I want to know your gear shirt. Where do you find it? I'm pretty sure I didn't put it in the link down below. It's in the link of every single video I make, except for this video so far. But I'll make sure it's in this video as well. There's a link to all of them all the time. I stopped the sales for a couple days last week for no particular reason. I just didn't refresh it. So I've been debating on, here's a good question for you guys. I've been debating on doing something exciting for when or if we get to 100,000 subscribers. It seems to be some kind of milestone on YouTube. My personal thing is I just like interacting, with everybody on this level. So I'm not really uber excited about the channel being much bigger. I don't hate it. It's obviously fun, but I worry about being out of control and I can't, handle stuff. But on that note, I would like to do something cool. And one of the things I thought about doing was not selling this shirt anymore after 100,000 subscribers, doing a different logo, and therefore anybody who got the shirt before 100,000 subscribers, they would be the only ones that have this shirt. Tell me what you guys think. And then I thought if I do that, I could run a campaign, and then it would be a nice way to fund the channel and do kinds of cool stuff. And tell me what you think of the idea. And then maybe run a contest for the new logo, right? And then do something cool. In fact, what do you think of that idea? We do a final campaign for this shirt, and to 100,000 subs, and then once we hit 100,000 subs, we never make this particular shirt again. But we have a contest, and whoever can design the new shirt, and we all vote for it. I'll give them like a guitar, something cool, right? Something that definitely makes it worth their while. Tell me what you guys think of that idea, especially in the video when it reposts tonight. So let's get back to what we're doing here. Questions. Yeah, you get a giant play button. I'm not gonna lie, man. I want to wear it like a belt buckle. I see, right? It's an interesting thing, right? I don't know. Think about it this way. Put it in perspective. A year ago, I would have never even knew what a play button was, or even why, right? Why I wouldn't even think that you can even get one. So it's still not real to me that we get close enough to it. I mean, I know we're close. It's like 92,000 subscribers, but you get the idea. It just seems not real. So that helps. Okay, so we started a little early, so we're gonna finish up in 5 minutes. It's a little longer today than normal. So let's see if we can hit some good questions. Oh, okay. So he said, hey, I asked the versatile amp question. I meant for home use. What amps would you suggest? I'm torn between the OR15 and the Tweaker 15. OR15 is a fantastic amp. I'm a little partial. I like the Tweaker. I thought it was a really great amp. Out of all the Aggnator amps, I like the Tweaker. So I just liked it. I thought it was a cool amp. So if it was me, that's what I would pick. Nexy Saloon says, brilliant, switching to a new logo after 100K. Yeah, thanks. I like I said, I think it'd be fun, right? I don't know if I ever said this, but there's something cool. When I had the store, when I did the shop, and the 12 years that the shop was around, we never did the same shirt twice. And the reason I did that was, to this day, when I'm around town and I see somebody with one of the shirts, I can tell how old of a customer, not by age, they are. And that's what I was thinking about the YouTube channel. Wouldn't it be cool if there were only way, right? Everybody who's pre 100K, you could tell because of the shirt, right? So, I thought it'd be fun. So, let's see. And then I would actually, if you want, at 100K, I'd disclose how many shirts I sold and how many are out there, if you guys want to know. It's probably more than you think and less than you think, if that makes any sense. And then Mark says, but are the shirts made in the USA? Oh, no, not even close. I'm sure they're made somewhere horrible. I don't even know how to source a shirt made in the USA, so I wouldn't know. If I could, I would. Let's see. What else? Somebody says, I'm going to buy now so you can stop selling tomorrow. Fair enough. Somebody else likes the idea. Polo shirts would be cool. Well, see, that's the other thing too. I thought at 100,000 subscribers, I could actually open up a cool store, right? You could cool a store with some mugs and polo shirts and expand it, and then just, right, and do something cool. But like I said, keep our little cool club small. So that's my idea. Okay, last. Skylar wants to know what's my take on Japanese Strats. Of course, they're some of the best Strats ever. People who collect Japanese Strats know Japanese guitars were always really good because, believe it or not, most of those guitars were made by hand. Very little CNC done in that. So skilled builders building great guitars. Just it's hard to not love that. So, okay, last. We'll probably get 3 or 4 questions because of the minutes left. I'm going to try not to answer any of the questions where I don't know the answer. So, or if I haven't had experience with the product. Roland69 Rockin' says, how are you coming along with those setup vids? They're really good. Believe it or not, I'm moving my repair shop right now. And so my fear is that in my experience is that every time I put any video out, like a tech tip video in the past or any of those repair videos, my local repair went up, right? And I'm the repair guy. So I want to be prepared when I put those out that I don't just start getting phone calls for repairs and then I'm like, yeah, I'm moving. So I'm physically moving the shop and doing stuff right now, and I'm working all that out. And I'm trying to take a little time for myself, but it's not working. Let's see. Oh, okay. Hendrick's saying, Phil, make picks out of 100,000 play button. That could be cool, like a hole punch. Okay, so... okay, Richard Brubaker saying, hey, heard of these? My Oscar Schmidt Les Paul got here. It's thinner than I remembered Gibson being. It probably is, right? It's because you save a little money. Oscar Schmidt is a brand owned by the company that owns Washburn. It's basically Washburn type product. A little more price friendly. I wouldn't say student grade. It's a little better quality than that. They are Oscar Schmidt is one of those brands that they made some stuff that's student level, but they made some better stuff. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if your guitar was a 1/4 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch thinner than a normal Les Paul. So it's a good way to save wood and planks of wood. So let's see. Oh, man, it just jumped again. Brent Phillips says, do you have logo picks? I do. And so anybody I meet, if I meet you anywhere, if anyone I've ever bumped into since I've had the channel, as soon as I meet you, whether you think it's weird or not, some people have had weird experience with it. As soon as I meet you, the first thing I do is hand you a pick. Almost like you want a scavenger hunt. So yeah, I have them. I have never really put them for sale. When we did the pick packs, I put them in there. But yeah, so I have picks. I just never thought about selling them. I kind of want to give them away. The problem I have right now is postage. It costs, but to give a pick away costs $1. So you could give 100 picks away. It's $100, but I don't know. Right? Try to think of a better way to spend $100 to appreciate people. So, Donald wants to know, why do guitar manufacturers that make beginner S-style trap, let's start again. Donald wants to know why guitar manufacturers that make Strat type guitars put tremolo systems on them instead of hardtails. You know what it is? It's as simple as when you're copying something, you just copy it. There's no reason to try to rethink it. Yeah, it would be probably cheaper to put a hardtail on them. I agree with you 100%. It makes no sense. In fact, I don't understand why there's not more hardtail versions of the Strat and Strat style guitars. It seems to be a thing. When I sold a lot of Fender, what I would tell people is, that was the question I got the most, right? Absolutely, hardtail Strats. It's like nobody wants to make this guitar that everybody wants. I don't understand why. Now, I know part of the reason, so is that a hardtail bridge has a different kind of feel to it when you bend strings than the tremolo, where even if the tremolo is blocked. So, because of the way the placement. So, unless you do a string through body, and once you do a string through body hardtail, you really, you got to line up the holes, so the price isn't so much cheaper than a tremolo. It's just a little cheaper. So, there you go. Let's see. And the last 2 questions. Here they are. What do we got? We got... All right, ready? There's some of these. As soon as I say that, you guys just kill me with questions. Okay. Yanni's saying, "Hey, everyone wants a whammy when they are starting out." You're not incorrect. Believe it or not, that's one of the fights you have to have with beginners is tell them, right? I used to make jokes. I used to take the tremolo arm and hold it to somebody, and I go, to the beginners, and I go, you know what this is? And they go, what? And I go, this is your go out of tune stick. So I used to call the tremolo arm a go out of tune stick, because on inexpensive guitars, that's all it did was knock them out of tune. Okay, last question. What do we got? Let's see. Okay. Blake Crawford. This is a hard question, so we're going to give it to you. It says, "Hey Phil, what is the most underrated brand for making guitars?" Who is the most underrated brand at making guitars? You know who it probably is now? I would say I'm not going to say one because there's a couple, okay? I think Godin, for sure. Godin guitars make fantastic guitars. They are fit and finish great. Earlier when I was talking about Schecter being fit and finish, Godin, same thing. Very rarely do you come across bad guitars. Great for the price, right? You can't hate them. I don't know. There's probably another one. But you know what? I'll stick with them, Godin, because the Godin guitars are great. Very, very underrated for what they are. So if that helps. And if I could think of another one, I would say it, but that's it. All right, guys. As always, another great Friday hanging out. We actually broke 600 today and got into the 600 a little bit too, which was really cool. It makes these Friday hangouts really worth it. I hope you enjoy hanging out with me. And also, don't be afraid to put comments. You don't have to watch it later, but put comments too in there later. I try to read all the comments. I don't get to answer them all, but I definitely get to read them all. And let me know, do you still like this time? Is there anything you want to change? I put a thing out. Again, I'm re-emphasizing the Instagram and the Facebook. I put out a lot of stuff on those about, hey, what do you guys think at different times, stuff like that. And sometimes I don't get to implement that because there's not as many people on those forums as there is on this. So please check me out on those forums as well. And as always, thank you guys for your time and know your gear.